Hey guys, I know you've only listened to something like this at the start of the Daniel J. Patton podcast, but you're listening to it here because this podcast was recorded on the 30th of March, which is quite a few months ago, I know. That is due to the fact that I've just been very busy with things and I've only been able to get around to releasing it now. This does predate a lot of things. I know certain situations have happened since then, but if you can just ignore that and just enjoy what we have to say on this. Um, if you do have any questions, do leave them down in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them in whatever way I can. So for the moment, enjoy.
So, hey guys, welcome back to the SuperCircuit podcast. My name is Aiden, and today I am joined by a good friend of mine. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, I am Jed. I do things and stuff. Believe it or not.
How are you today, Jed?
Yeah, I was at work today. That was fun. I mean, it was actually fun. There were bits of it that were actually fun. There were bits of it that were less fun, but it was mostly fun. And then, I don't think I've been sleeping well. The entire family's just come off having a sleep in my house. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with you. I was up to this morning for a meeting at around nearly. I got up around 7:45. The meeting was about quarter past, and she then sends me a text and says, "Oh yeah, I won't be able to do the online meeting today, Neil." So I was just like, "Right, okay. Well, I can't go back to sleep."
Thank you for telling me. Last night.
Yeah, I mean, I sent her stuff last night to just be like, "All right, here's all the stuff I'm working on this week. You can have a look and give me some feedback." Could have mentioned you were sick. Could have said. Yeah.
Yeah, this stuff does sometimes sort of jump you, first thing in the morning. You're like, "Ugh." But yeah, no, it's yeah, that's typical. That's just bloody typical.
Yeah, but I mean, look, I mean, I say it's all right for yourself. Like, I mean, between that and family and FanFilms and stuff, like it's all. I'd say it's all going all right, is it?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done. Truth be told, I haven't done much fan stuff for the last month. I was a bit busy, uh, making sure that my novel was ready to go out. So that's coming out on Saturday. So that'll be fun.
Oh, very good. Is it? Where is it? I'm gonna plug this. Where is it coming out?
Okay, so I'll do you one better. I'll send you the link to it that you can put in the description. Yeah, that's a plug, everybody. So it's called Harbinger, Part One of the Malifest War. It's a sort of high fantasy universe versus a superhero universe in a big bust up fight to the proverbial death. It's and it's coming out on as a Kindle ebook on Amazon on Saturday, and then on Monday it's coming out as a paperback as well. And I've got a previous copy of the paperback right here.
Okay. Oh my god!
Yeah, it's I'm holding a book. I wrote a book. I'm holding a copy of the book.
Yeah, I did. I know they can't. I know they can't see it, but if you guys show the link, you'll see the cover. It is really nice. Really, really.
I'm quite happy with it, considering that I'm not really a graphic designer. So it's all good.
If anybody knows our buddy George, he would, if he was on this podcast right now, he would be hyped out of this, right?
At this point, George has become something of my hype man.
Yeah.
I mean, technically speaking, of course, George has always been my hype man. He's been watching my shit since he was 13. Sorry, am I allowed to swear? You're not going to have to keep me out, are you?
Oh, no, this is perfect. You can whatever.
I mean, this is a YouTube podcast. Some people don't like swearing in their podcasts. Some people do like swearing in their podcasts. I seem to remember. I think George used the duck sound to cover up my swearing on one of his.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say this ain't that kind of podcast, man. I just let people run. I just let it run. Yeah, I mean, speaking of, like, how long how long would you say you've been on YouTube for now? Like, you know, I mean, regardless of the like the fan film stuff, like, would you say you start like just like how long would you say you've been on there for?
Let's define our terms here. I've had YouTube accounts since I was a teenager, where I lied about my age.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I literally, when I created my first account, I lied about my age. So my very first YouTube account was Jed R 1989, where I was quite literally lying about my age to get the YouTube account, so it would let me be on YouTube.
I mean, surely they would have let you at that point, like 1980. Really?
Okay, so I was born in 1991, and so I added 2 years to my age to make it 1989. And I was like 15 at the time or something like that. So I don't think they let you do YouTube accounts at 15 at the time. Of course, nowadays, of course, social media is overrun with teenagers all over the place, posting their opinions on things in teenager ways. Gosh darn whippersnappers. But no, like in terms of like creating content on YouTube, I guess I've been ish since 2009, but really I've been doing it seriously since I started doing music for the Lungbarrow brothers stuff, which was 2011. So 11 years as of this year. Oh my god, that still makes me sound old. I am the no. Okay, so fun fact, listener, in the group chat that we're on, where I'm thankful to know quite a few quite well regarded fan people. Yeah, I'm still the oldest. I'm older than all of them, right? I'm older than Connor Chadwick. I'm older than Dominic Greenwood Martin. I'm older than George. I'm older than Aiden. I'm old. Oh, oh.
It's like that's for anyone now, like because they're all gonna know those. Like, oh my god, and because like normally, not to be offensive, like not to throw like something like Connor, but I mean like Connor in most of the fan community, like especially on the Discord, is seen as sort of the the kind of the oldest one or whatever, and what would say the old wise guy to look for for some reason. I'm just like, not that old guy. Jesus Christ.
Okay, one, he's not that old. He's got this serene presence about him, where he's just like, I'm just going to get things sorted. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And I'm going to sort out this thing and sort out that thing. And, very, very serene, very calm, very measured presence. Yeah, like even when he's pissed off about something, he's pissed off about it in a sort of measured, calm kind of way, where he's he's going to talk about what's pissing him off, and it shouldn't be that way, but he's not going to raise his voice about it.
Yeah, it's very balanced anger. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a pillar of Zen-like calm. No one who knows me would ever accuse me of being a pillar of Zen-like calm. They would more likely accuse me of being a tiny little ball of pure rage at any given moment. And believe me, I am capable of pure rage. You're not seeing the look that I'm giving you, listeners. You're not seeing the look that I'm giving you. I am capable of pure rage. Pure rage. So, yeah, now good. But no, I'm not quite the old boy of fan filmmaking, because there are guys who've been doing it longer than I have still operating. Actually, no, to be fair, Nathan Carter from NTC Productions was doing it before we were, but he stopped. We haven't yet. So we've technically edged him out on that one.
Yeah,
like
I think like where like you guys kind of kept going all through those years, like in some shape or form. I know there might have been there's always a bit of gaps between content. I'm guilty of it myself, like, but like Nathan pretty much just went on a complete hiatus. But
it happens to the best of us. This is like the fan creation hobby is one of those ones where it would be bloody great to keep doing it over and over and on and on and on and on and do nothing else. But it'd be great to keep doing this like all the time to the exclusion of all else. But we have this thing called real life, and it's not it does not allow for us to keep doing fan content to the exclusion of all else. I am so sorry. I know you're disappointed. We're disappointed too. We would love nothing more than to do nothing but make this stuff, but it does not always work out that way.
Yeah, I mean the one group you could say were the ones that are like, I mean, they're not like I'd say that they're holding the record right now is Devious, because they've only just released their episode 3 trailer today for like their series. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean Devious. Nick Scovell, he's done audios, but he's had gaps. Devious, I don't know what the deal with Devious is. I would say Devious is one of those ones where they don't really, I wouldn't say that they count as long running, more long producing, if that makes sense. So, like, okay, take your MB and Homeland, all right? MB and Homeland, they produced, what was it, 5 series? 5 series of really solid, high quality content. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh wait, I think it was 6, because I think their first
Their last,
yeah.
Their last 6, wasn't it? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Okay, so there 6 seasons of pretty high quality content, getting better as they went on, and they were producing that at a fairly regular rate. Obviously, there were gaps and stuff, but they produced that at a fairly regular rate. They released that at a fairly regular rate. That's what I would define as a sort of continuous period of operating and being in production. So by that metric, Lungbarrow Brothers and Man at Desk Productions, which are the ones that I do, which technically it just sort of counts as me continuously doing it, but without Anthony. That's been in near constant production since February 2011. So it's 11 years of production, and we're continuing. We're still going. We're still going to be going like on stuff. So yeah, we've been in constant production with off periods of like months, etc. For like pretty much the entirety of that 11 years. We are going to continue being in near constant production. I can talk about this. I'm not one of these guys who like keeps tight lids on stuff because I'm scared of spoilers. Yeah. We're working on an audio right now for Lungbarrow Brothers. We're working on a second series of films for Lungbarrow Brothers, which George is in. Would you believe? There's going to be an official announcement about that some point soon. But George is my successor in that series, so that's good.
And I mean, if anyone is, and just if anyone has seen George as obviously the only bit of content people will probably know about is either the Blonde Doctor or the Waistcoat Doctor over on Instability. This is it's not it's going to be a very, obviously I can imagine it's going to be a very different Doctor to those two.
Oh yeah.
I mean, for one thing, I can praise George on that. He just is able to just switch between them so easily.
I mean, he literally is capable of switching between them so easily. Because for those of you who have been keeping up with Rassilon Productions, I wrote a story with all 3 of George's Doctors in it. And it was the read through for that was hilarious because it was just him switching between these 3 portrayals, and it's just, oh man, I love that man. I love that man dearly.
I would love to have seen that like Zoom meeting where you just see George's face just change depending on what he's doing.
No, the best part was when we recorded it. We recorded each run of lines separately. For ease of editing, but sometimes he was slipping between voices. Like every so often, he would sort of slip and go, "Oh no, wait, I'm doing it wrong. I've got to posh it up a bit." So, funnily enough, the Doctor that he's going to be playing for Lungbarrow Brothers Series 2 is actually in that story. So that's one of the 3 Doctors that he's playing is that Doctor. So yeah, it should be interesting seeing where that goes. It should be interesting how that plays out.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like you and me both know something that's happening over on Instability right now that I know about, and you know about, George knows about, and Michael knows about, but we can't say it. I don't know if we can say it because, like,
you know what? On Instability Productions.
Yes.
I think we can talk about that. I don't see any reason why we can't talk about that.
Oh yeah, all right, so that's fine. But no, I was just
So,
gonna say, like, in comparison to that, like, I feel like I look at George doing what he does, and I'm like, like, I know what I want to do. It's like, how do I, the switching part is the thing I got to get down.
I mean, for you, I reckon it's not going to be so difficult unless you like George decide to have a story with both of your doctors in it. At which point it's like, you know, oh, I'm allowed to say it. I'm allowed to say it. All right, right. We're not the BBC, and like, unless you're like one of the really big fan film groups, which not even they really should be like this, if you ask my honest opinion. But like, nobody cares about spoilers for any of them. Just
Yeah,
tell us what's happening. Tell us what's gonna happen.
I mean,
So yeah,
that's the thing with, like, most, which I know, I think they've missed the trick, because even the TV show at some points will throw in promo or just little bits of content, just to say this is the villain we're using or whatever, just to it spices it up, because it gets the fans going, oh, what's gonna happen here when this one shows up in this, or something like that.
I think the trick with that will be not necessarily finding a different voice per se, but finding the different dials to turn to say this doctor is more this thing and less this thing, and really, you only need to find a different vocal performance if they're ever actually going to meet. I would say.
I mean,
So
when I read, like, guys, just for context, Jed and George have written stuff for this doctor already, and what I've read of it really helps bring out the voice of that version that I'm doing, and really help me understand where this guy is going to go. And and it's very different to, if by this time anything with Burgundy is out. I don't know if it will, but they're very different people. They're and that's normal with the doctor. Like, there's always the personalities will always be different, and that's a good thing.
oh, absolutely. I mean, it has to be because you know it has to be between actors because it's a very personality-driven role. For better or for worse, it's a role that's driven by the person embodying it. And sometimes people are really good at that. Sometimes people aren't maybe so good at that, but it's always a very personal thing.
Yeah. I mean,
When you're trying to embody the same role twice, that's a different thing, and that's an even harder challenge because it's like trying to find different bits of yourself to put out there with it, if that makes sense.
I mean, that's kind of like how Tom Baker might have been when it came to, like, playing curator. Like, maybe I like his performance, but you can tell maybe in some shots he does feel a little bit strange. Am I the doctor in this moment, or am I something else?
I think he gave an interview where he was like, he didn't really have a good time making the Day of the Doctor, which is a pity, but it is what it is, so to speak.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, we know I say we know maybe a few people who can get too much like, too. They might think their doctor is bigger than, life itself, and I think, like, as much as I love Tom's doctor, I think he really, for him, he is the definitive, like, incarnate, and that's normal, and I understand it. So I guess when he sees that fella in front of him who is on the show now playing the character, it must be a very weird and strange thing for him.
It must be, and I think for fans it's a different thing as well because when a fan plays it and a fan gets too much into it, that's a case of fan ownership as well because we as fans feel like we own the show, whether we admit to it or not, whether we actively try and combat that instinct or not. We feel like we are owed something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's one way of looking at it anyway. And when we play the Doctor, that's exacerbated to a certain extent, I would say.
Yeah, because I feel sometimes as like, I can say this freely about Burgundy, for example. I put a good part of myself into playing, and I can tell that's, for me, if I left the role, yeah, there's going to probably be a little bit of whatever about it, like eventually, because I don't know, you'll have a bit of. It's like how this is. It's like getting a pet. Like you name the pet, you get used to the pet, and then obviously they have a short lifespan, like a character, like sometimes, and when it comes to that ending, you don't know how to feel about it.
I mean, this is it, and I think for us, excuse me. Oh God. Ah, you can tell I don't sleep very well out there. No, for us as fan writers, we are the ones actually writing it, which the BBC doctors can't say. The BBC doctors, they show up, they are handed a script, they read the script, they play the script to the best of their abilities. If they're particularly invested, they might suggest things or suggest alterations to the lines. But at the end of the day, the people deciding that character's story are different than the people embodying it. Whereas among fan writers, for better or for worse, most of the time, we are embodying something that we've created, as opposed to embodying someone else's vision, which is good and bad. I think there are examples where it's a very good thing that we're embodying, that people are embodying their own work and they tell a story that's very deep and very intricate and meaningful. Other times, maybe not so much. And the sort of curse of fan writing is, I guess, there was this really great review of Planet of the Spiders, where basically it went, the scriptwriter has obviously been given a lot of leeway by the director, who's obviously been given a lot of leeway by the producer, and that's probably because they're all the same person. And it's like when you write something, you think it's great. You hand it over to a director, and the director should have a chance to look at it and go, maybe not. Maybe we'll play it a different way. And the producer should then either go, okay, play it one way, play it the other way, but maybe let's come to a third option. When you're all three of those things, you're just going to go, I wrote this and this is brilliant, and fuck you if you don't think so.
Yeah.
But, it's a difficult thing to get over. It's a difficult thing to get past. It's something that I think good writing in fandom does get past by virtue of it being a very collaborative process. And I think it's this is a very long tangent about the process of writing. The process of writing, ladies, gentlemen, and distinguished others of the audience, is one that's very close to my heart because I am a master's degree scriptwriter, and I did not spend several £1,000s of my mother's money to not know what the hell I'm talking about when it comes to writing. Hey,
Jed is he knows this stuff.
I have a couple of letters at the end of my name. I can sound up my ass about it because I am up my ass about it. I didn't get that master's degree to not flaunt that master's degree.
Exactly.
Yeah. No. To sort of go back a bit about sort of the characters and the sort of limited lifespans. Truth be told, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, I cannot fucking wait to kill my character. I can't fucking wait. Like the thing is, there are some of us who, in the nicest possible way, some people are able to let go of this character. Some people are not able to let go of this character. That's fine. Sure, whatever. I can't wait to fucking be rid of him in a weird way. I can't wait to tell some stories, have told those stories, and then be able to say, no, I'm not playing him anymore. I don't have to keep this hair. I don't have to, be ready to film this and be ready to film that. And I can wear this coat without having to worry about whether it's the same thing I wore last week or whatever. And it's, in a very weird sense, I just want to almost skip to the part where I kill him the fuck off. I'm not going to. I can't because there's too much to get to before I get there. But for reals, there's so much still to do. And sometimes, especially when you hit the big 3-0,
yeah,
you suddenly get to this point where you're like, can I just fucking die? Why won't you let me die?
I mean,
and then Then I'm turning around to myself and I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, in a way, like I think, I mean, in one of the sense, it's the fact that you've been doing it for, you've been here, you know, you've been a doctor technically for 11 years. 11, like that's a long stretch. Like that's more than Tom Baker. That's more than, you know. I mean, Paul McGann and you might have a bit of a rivalry on that one. You know, it's like
1996 to 2004. 2005 was when he stopped being the current doctor. But then again, all the Big Finish guys have been doing it for like years and years and years and years longer than me.
Yeah.
But like, I guess the difference is, for most of them, no, for all of them now, like for all of them, there's a definitive point where it's like, this character ends here and it's over. And at any point they could say, you know what? I've told all the stories I want to tell with this character and I'm done. And nobody could hold it against them because the story is over. They told that story. It's finished. It's fine. You know, we've got the complete beginning to end of that character. And in some cases, thanks to Big Finish, we've got a middle or a proper end of that character, thanks to Big Finish. You know, whereas if I decided halfway through this Zoom call, you know what, I don't want to be the Nth Doctor anymore. I just don't. I never want to do it again. I want to stop right now and edit the stuff that I've got still to do, put that out there and have fucking done with it. The story would not be over, all right? And nobody would get to find out the ending because I hadn't done it yet. And that's the thing. And it's like, there's a difference between it going back and telling more stories in the middle part of the story and not having done the end yet. And that's the tricky part. Like there are days, like lots of days, where I'm just like, can I get to the end yet?
I mean, it's strange. It's strange because like I've not even had my proper beginning yet, and I'm kind of like, I'm at one end, you're at the other, and we're both kind of just, it's a strange thing, like.
I mean, this is it. Like, a lot of the guys that we talk to are like guys at the other end of that journey to me. You know, so George has not had a proper like beginning of any of his doctors, really. None of his doctors have had proper beginnings.
No, it's just been like, here he is like in the midst of something. Go with it.
Yeah, or you know, in the case of the Waistcoat Doctor and Instability, same principle. It's like, these are stories from the middle. He's not done the beginning yet. You know, similarly with like people like yourself or Dominic Martin. Lovely fella. Hasn't had his beginning yet. So, you know, I cannot imagine that he feels anything like the desire to fucking stop that I do. You know, like if anything, you know, this is evident if anyone knows anything about, you know, the obviously painstaking process of creating the stuff that he's currently in. If anything, he really wants to fucking start.
Yeah, I mean, with Dom as like, he's technically had a first episode, but obviously, you know, there's going to be this whole remaster thing, and there he's, you know, thankfully, it's great to see that, you know, from talking to him, I really see the push he wants to get this out and just let people see this character, you know.
No, this is it. But you know, it's like I say, like, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, but this is the thing of dealing with a bunch of people who are very, like, younger than I am. You guys want to fucking start. You guys want to, you know, get into it, get going. Yeah. I want to fucking end. I want to like reach the part where I fucking stop doing this. You know, where I have to fucking stop writing scripts and editing scripts and making scripts and doing this and doing that and wanting to hit my head against the brick wall. It's like, and the thing is,
once you stop, it's going to be on George. Then it's not on George's shoulders.
You know, me and George had this conversation, and I think before we were going to do the Lungbarrow Brothers stuff with him, we weren't really going to do much with that Doctor. Him being my successor is very much, well, no, bluntly speaking, and this is the part where I start sounding like a bitter old bastard about it all. Before I started talking to you guys about Doctor Who fan stuff, I genuinely got the sense that George was the only person who knew I fucking existed as a fan Doctor.
Yeah.
So when I sort of passed the mantle onto him, when I said, "You're the guy who's going to be my proper successor," the general reasoning I had for that was, I want to give it to somebody who's going to appreciate what that means, because I will have been doing it for 15 fucking years by the time I finish, at least. So passing that on to somebody, I want to pass it on to somebody who's going to look at that and go, "I'm ready."
Yes.
I get the feeling that it's probably going to be him.
Yeah, and like, if anyone who's listening now knows George, he is a guy who commits, like he really goes for it, and he's just a genuine nice guy, just a lovely human being,
He's like legit one of the best.
Yeah.
One of the best.
How long was it? I would say, what was it like? What was it like starting out with like Lungbarrow and all that stuff? Like when you originally kind of made the fan films.
That was a different era, man. Like, consider the following. Back then, YouTube did not do long videos the way it does now.
Yeah.
Most okay. I talk a lot about the 3 eras of fan filmmaking. Era 1 was like the wilderness era, which was a big, long time.
Oh yeah.
But like that whole era and the stuff before the wilderness, that's a whole era of fan filmmaking in and of itself, which was this like VHS is being shared at conventions and stuff kind of era. Very committed work. Sometimes kind of crap, but it was crap that had commitment behind it.
Oh yeah, you could tell there was like people who wrote very intricate stories, and like you got guys like obviously in like DVS to projection, Nick Scoville doing stage plays and everything. So like that's a lot of commitment there.
Yeah, that's a very committed era. Then you've got the interim, which was a period from I'd say about 2005 to 2012, which was a combination of people still doing things the way that the wilderness years had done it, and then there were people like me and Anthony who sort of were muddling our way through with new technology, half in one world, half in the other.
Yeah.
And then there was the pedophile.
Yeah. Oh, that was the rocky period, because now when you look back, everyone has to kind of dodge around that one thing. They're like, oh yeah, there was this one, and then just dodge around that.
Yeah, there was the fucking pedophile. Yeah, and like the thing is, I had some respect in terms of that guy's workload because he'd done quite a bit of good work. But sorry, I don't care how good a fucking writer, I don't care how good the fucking work, I don't care how much you put out, I don't care how prolific you are. If you're a fucking pedophile, all right, get the fuck out of this fandom.
Exactly.
No, and more to the point, if you're a fucking pedophile and you come anywhere near me, I will fucking castrate you by hand.
He's not kidding.
No. Here's the thing. I'm a parent. I am a parent. If I ever see a sex offender or a pedophile in person, and the problem with this fandom is I can think of at least 3 by name who are fucking sex offenders or pedophiles, I will fucking castrate you myself. And I will castrate any of you who dare show your fucking face to me. You will fucking end. All right? Not playing. Because it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting, and it has no place in this fandom. No place in this civilization. So get the fuck out with it. Sorry, that was me getting angry. That was me getting.
Oh no, I cannot.
I mean, let's be clear. Any and all right-thinking people listening to this fucking podcast will listen to me and go, he's probably being a bit excessive, but yes, I entirely agree with his general point there. Get the fuck out of our civilization. Like for real.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just like when I see guys like that in the fandom, it's just like, what are you doing? Why are you here? But like, I hear
of guys like that still showing up to stuff.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing that gets. It's like, okay, I'm fucking sorry. So like, you get caught sending sexually explicit shit to a 14-year-old, and then you still show up to a fucking convention thinking that people will want to talk to you, fuck off.
Oh,
Stories that you guys told me. So
oh yeah. I mean, I could say, do you know there was the other guy, the other I think he's the other one of them anyway, was at MegaCon last weekend, I think it was. And the one from a certain thing, I'll tell you afterwards, but they were there.
I mean, yeah.
Because
there's Coburn, there's the curly haired one, and there's the other one. So
yeah, it was the other one. Yeah, and it was just I didn't know until I saw a video somebody put up on TikTok, and I just went, oh no, and that's just it's the fact that those guys still go around there, and I'm just like, guys, you're hated, right? Like, I mean, I remember Coburn was at LFCC in the queue, like he was in literally on the other side of the queue. And the worst part is, I was there, like for guys, people who don't know, my mom used to come with me to conventions, and she was right next to me, and she was, being naive to the whole thing, was like, oh look, it's a Jody, it's a Jody with it, and I had to literally say to her, no, mom, that's a beautiful. Don't look at them, don't you? Whatever. And then I had to, and then having to calm her from,
killing the lotion.
And she didn't really know what to do. I didn't know what to do. And honestly, in that situation, I don't think many would. I should have gone to security, but I just, what can you have to have evidence in that situation too.
Like we know, like the fandom knows what he is, but like the world at large does not.
Yeah.
Hey. What a fun topic we've got onto. But so that's the sort of middling era. We were talking about eras. There's the wilderness era. There's the middling era where the pervert came from. But we're also where myself and Anthony started. And the weird thing is, like, you could already tell where the fandom trend was going, because Tony fucking Coburn was quite popular for his green screen TARDISes and riffing on the Tennant era. But Anthony and we never really got much traction because what you were still making, I guess you'd call it pseudo classic style stuff.
Like
essentially,
like when I watch some of your stuff, like it gives me very much. I guess if I was going to go from a certain period of the classic series, it goes from either Pertwee to nearly maybe Colin McCoy. It could be from like any of those kind of parts of Who.
Yeah, I mean, Pertwee was my favorite Doctor by a country fucking mile. But but I think certainly there is a bit of an 80s vibe to some of the stuff that we did. It does help that I composed most of the music on. No, I composed all of the music on a really 80s style Yamaha keyboard, which is no longer with us. God rest its soul. But no. But yeah. So we were sort of overlooked a bit in that era because we weren't wilderness enough for the wilderness era guys to give a shit about us, because we were new young things, and I was only 19. So they looked at me and they thought, oh, he's just another kid in his back garden. And then all the people who were watching like Coburn and stuff overlooked us because we didn't have CGI and stuff. But then obviously after that came the sort of era, I think, again, starting in 2012. Funnily enough, not with DW 2012, but with that sort of general era of fan filmmaking, the sort of the young hot things, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely tell you the fan film that probably kicked it off would probably be Besieged, was one of them, definitely, because it was very high. Probably, it was very studio production, very reminiscent of it, the Wilderness series, because some of them kind of have a sort of production going on. And then you had, I guess, Nathan Carter came after that, or was he around that time?
I think you would have started around that time, but like a lot of them started around that time, and then there was sort of a bunch of rolling productions that all had relatively high production values and stuff. So yeah, we landed square between two zeitgeists and never quite found our niche, so to speak, amongst the fan. And like,
you guys had your own style. That was the thing. You guys had your style, and people, like, you'd have people just gravitate towards different things at the time. because a lot of the young fans are very. I can tell you from being one of them in 2010, I'd say 10 to 13, very much new series, Matt Smith era, David Tennant. Like people are going to be in that kind of mode. But as time goes on, now I can see a lot of them starting to become more into the classic roots. Like they're starting to get a part of that in them now. Yeah.
I know this is it. So you sort of you miss the zeitgeist. Sometimes you get the zeitgeist. Sometimes the zeitgeist gets you.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I don't know. I don't want to sound bitter when I talk about this stuff, but to be honest, when you've been doing it for 10 years, and when you put the amount of time into it that you can really, and the thing is, the difference I would say now between myself and Anthony and a lot of people who make fan films, and I mean this in the nicest possible way, we have lives.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to say that oh, get a life. I mean, I have 2 children and a job and rent to pay.
Yeah.
Like no one on the chat that we're on has children. People are getting married, fine. People are in committed relationships, sure. All right. None of you have kids. I had kids. I have a 7-year-old daughter. I have a 7-year-old daughter, so I've had children since I was 23. And that changes your priorities. That changes what you can spend time on. That changes how you can spend that time dramatically.
I mean, that's
like a lot of the people who make fan films go to conventions. You meet other people who make fan films. You create a network around you of people who make fan films. And because travel's a bit easier than it would have been 20 years ago, because technology is a bit easier than it was 20 years ago, people can travel, people can film stuff, so people can go places, film things, make things. It all works out really nicely. You yourself travel from, where are you in Ireland?
I mean, south of Ireland, very low south of Ireland, so around, I'd say, I don't want to give my location, but that's
No, of course, but you're like, so you have to travel like, you go to places like London and stuff to film, right?
yeah. I mean, obviously for people know this episode 4 of my series is set in London, so I have to go to London to do it.
I know, but that's a lot easier to do in terms of filming and stuff than it would have been 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And you've got a network of people that that you can rely upon to call on, because you've done conventions and you've done Zooms and you've done all this stuff. 5 years ago, there was no Zoom. People didn't do this, people didn't make these connections this way. So myself and Anthony, because we don't have the money to go to conventions, because we don't go to these things and meet these people, we don't, generally speaking, tap into that thing,
Yeah.
So
I
it's
mean, it's one of the things where, I mean, how I met George was literally through, we're rolling back to George again, but how I met George was through talking on Instagram, and just, we kept talking, and then I obviously met, got in contact with Dan when he was casting me, and then he casted me in the thing. George found, George knew about it, and we were talking, and it literally just rolled from there, and now knowing everybody else, it's just, so I'm appreciative of that kind of thing, because it didn't happen all at once. It just kind of gradually just happened.
Oh no, absolutely. But you think of something like, say, we'll go to DW 2012, because DW 2012 is the big famous example among fan creators, right?
Right.
All of the people in DW 2012 are people who are at conventions a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. One can infer, both from behind the scenes material and just from logic, a lot of these people met at conventions, got talking at conventions. Dominic Martin's gone on record as saying he was cast after a convention. So, that is where a lot of those connections happen. Okay. I think I don't want to say the frustrating thing about it, but the thing that sort of is a little bit, I mean, it is frustrating. It is frustrating because, at the end of the day, Anthony and I put a great deal of effort into what we did and what we continued. And again, sounding like a bitter old man here, like it never really, it felt a bit like we were pissing into the wind with it.
Yeah.
It still feels that way. Like in a weird way, even though I know more people than I've ever known in the fandom, and I've got more reach than ever, it still occasionally does feel like pissing into the wind a little bit with it. This is not me attempting to guilt trip people into going and watching my series, by the way. Do not feel like you're being guilt tripped into it, everybody. I'm happy to piss into the wind. I don't need pity views. Thank you.
I mean, Jed, I think it's the thing that, like, obviously yourself and Anthony you guys have come through all the, like, you've come from era 2 into, like, going really into era 3 and seeing all this kind of change in technology and how people do things now. I mean, like, you can see stuff like, we'll take Fractured Timeline, for example. Like, I mean, even the third episode, like, that was written and, like, helped produced by Connor Chadwick, who we both know and did a tremendous job on, like, and it's strange to see, that's someone else helping out on that project, and it just shows the collaboration has changed and everything, and it's very different to how it would have been, say, even 10 years ago, where it was just everybody kind of just doing their own thing, really.
Yeah, I think that there is that. I think technology is definitely part of, like, the way things have developed. I think the problem that I have, this is the part where I'm going to be really critical of fan culture, like insanely critical. And if fan culture wants to crucify me for it, fan culture can go do one, because I don't care.
Prepare yourselves, folks. It's going to be good.
Okay. There's a few maxims. There's a few maxims that sort of make a lot of sense when it comes to which fan series are successful, which ones aren't, which ones do well, which ones don't. Maxim 1, this is very important. Talent and an empty wallet is worth the empty wallet. Okay? So I will straight up sound like an egomaniac here. I am one of the better writers operating in fandom currently. I have a master's degree in it. Of course, I'm one of the better writers operating in fandom currently. And I say this with all due respect to the people who write in fandom and to the people who write scripts in fandom, okay? A lot of the people who are the most proliferate fan creators are not the best fandom writers, all right? Straight facts right there, all right? And I mean that with all the due respect in the world to the effort that people go through to make things. Writing as a craft is not important to fan making, all right? The most successful fan films have the following things in common: fairly sizable crews and teams behind them, usually because they met people at conventions or they reached out to people through, like, social media. Access to high-end CGI software and or mid-end CGI software that they can run on computers to decent effect, all right, and that they have a lot of time to work on, all right? And money and time to spend on props and other things, okay? So they have access to all three of those things, okay? And for anyone else wanting to break into the hobby, lack of access to either people or CGI software or props, okay? Lack of access to any of those things, right? Fundamentally, it comes down to money. Fundamentally, it comes down to you don't have the money to go out and meet people to get them involved or pay for them to come and film with you, all right? Or you don't have the money to go and film with other people. You don't have the money to buy a high-end PC to make high-end CGI software stuff or mid-end CGI software stuff that looks good. Or you don't have the money to buy props, to build props, to buy sonic screwdrivers, to buy commissioned CGI software, whatever. You don't have the money to do any of those things. Because the thing is, you can make up for an inability to do CGI yourself by commissioning someone else to do it for you. Yeah. That's the system. You can make up for not having props by commissioning someone else to do it for you. So, we both know people who make stuff, like James makes stuff, he's a commissionable sonic screwdriver prop maker. He makes props. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you personally don't know how to make props, you can commission somebody like him, or there's thousands of people on Etsy. All those people will happily make props for you, all right? And you don't have to do that. But money is the key denominating factor in all of these things. So with an empty wallet, it doesn't matter how good your script is. If all you can do, and I say this with the greatest of love towards my Doctor's Sonic Screwdriver, but if all you can do is buy a character options one and repaint it, all right, that's not going to cut it in the modern world, because the modern fan film is too competitive. People are drawn naturally to the higher end productions. The higher end productions are separated not by talent, but by money, all right? Because all the talent in the world, all right, that goes into all of these would be incapable of being used effectively without the money to do it. Now, the problem with that is that it creates strata of fan films. Now, I'm going to talk a bit about Star Trek fan films. Star Trek fan films, about, God, it would have been 5-6 years ago. You basically went from Star Trek fan films being 1 or 2 episodes where people had really come together to build bits of set and get uniforms and stuff, but they really fucking struggled to pull all those resources, and it was a massive undertaking, to affairs where people were kickstarting and using Kickstarter money to get hundreds of thousands of dollars. I think the most famous one, or rather infamous one, was Star Trek Axanar. And what Axanar did was get millions of dollars of Kickstarter money, with the promise of hiring real professional talent to appear in their films, with the promise of, like building sets and making the film like properly. Okay. Doctor Who fan films are not quite at that level. They're going to be. I predict we are going to see a point where more of the people doing high-end stuff in these fan films in the Star Trek field, the talent in the Star Trek fan films was not always super high standard. Like, the acting was not professional standard from some of these people, naturally, because they're not actors. The writing was sometimes a bit patchy in places, or a bit fanish in places. And what separated them out from others was money. Fundamentally, separated them out was money. And the ability to pull people together, the ability to travel to places, the ability to pay for the software, to pay for the props, to pay for the pieces and uniforms and everything. And it's the same. It's the same thing. And what that did was it created an environment where, if you wanted to get into the fan filmmaking hobby, if you wanted to break into that hobby, you couldn't. Because who the fuck would watch? If you are a guy who's managed to scrape together enough money to buy, okay, let's take Star Trek, continuing to use Star Trek as an example. If you've got a 15 quid phaser toy, and if you've got a 40 quid uniform shirt and a pair of black trousers and black Doc Martens, and you go out and film for 2 days in a wood and make a 15-minute fan film about a dude in a wood, you're not going to stand up next to somebody who has much more money to spend, much more resources and people and all that stuff, because they've had the money to spend. You're not going to stand up against people who've got like full CGI sets and full CGI backgrounds and full CGI ships and all that stuff. You're just not.
Yeah.
And it turns fan filmmaking into a hobby for the affluent middle class. Similarly with Doctor Who fandom and Doctor Who fan films, it turns it more and more into a hobby for the affluent middle class, or people with disposable income. And frankly, to get political and soapboxy, the inability of the working class, the increasing inability of the working class as time goes on to rise up to that middle class level and to be able to start doing it, can be seen in professional industries. It can be seen in the professional acting industry. I can count on one hand the number of genuine Northern accents in anyone who wasn't Sean Bean in Game of Thrones, because all of the young hot actors were posh rada types who talked like posh rada types when they weren't, filming and putting on fake Northern accents, nothing Jon Snow. And it's the same in everything. Sorry, that's very soapboxy. I do apologize.
To be fair, they were filming in Northern Ireland places, on you couldn't get a bunch of Northern Irish people to just show up on set and do stuff, and you were talking about the Kickstarter for that Star Trek fan film. I'll do you one better like that. There was 2 I can think of from fandoms I know about, which is, there was Bat in the Sun, with one for their Batman fan film, Dying is Easy, you know that no, and also Spider-Man are doing one for, obviously it's called Spider-Man Lotus. It's a big, basically it's been, you know, made as a fan film, but it's really been seen by people as nearly on par with the films for some reason, which I'm like, no, it's at the end of the day, it's still a fan film because it is not being made by the studio. And also with Bat in the Sun, there was the issue that people, they put tears on their one. They didn't like what Lotus just wanted to get made. It just wanted to get the story that it didn't want to add any more characters. It didn't want to do. It just said, look, we have a story. We might make it longer, but that is how far we're going. Bat and the Sun were like, we're gonna add all these characters in, and then when I saw it, I was like, you just, you literally, all you got out of that was like nearly a mere like 10-second clip of a character just being there. It's not, they're not doing much or anything, and it's just, and then it literally just boils down to some sort of conversation or something. I'm like, when I see, you know, I mean, look, I know, like, I've seen the Batman, and I know it's a, like, you know, and anyone who's seen the Batman will know it's a detective noir kind of thing. And I'm like, yeah, Bat in the Sun did something like that, but it was more just kind of, I don't know, it's felt kind of like they just were adding more and overextending themselves a bit, you know?
Well, it's fanish writing though, isn't it? And the thing is, in that instance, that's a case of basically you promise the world to fans, fans will expect the world. And when you're a fan creator, you're much closer to the ground than when you're like making the real product.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, there are people out there who, you know, I mean, I don't know whether it's because of the situation they're in or just because of who they are. They get very into that, you know, they are very much thinking they are on the level of obviously the studio or any of the show itself, whether it be Marvel, Doctor Who, whatever. And I just be like, yeah,
This
no.
is the thing. This is the second big problem with fan culture. To get back on my soapbox and keep complaining about fans. I'm so sorry. I love you all really. When you make a fan film, when you make a fan anything, people will be gravitating towards you. More and more people like, and the thing is, it's not the fault necessarily of the creators, because like, take Dominic Martin. Dom is a lovely bloke, like genuinely lovely bloke. Like honestly, like before I met him, I'd heard wonderful things from George. After I met him, he seems like the loveliest fella.
Yeah.
He has a fan base. He has a fan base within the fandom that he is a part of that have elevated him to this greater status. All right? That's bad. It's not his fault, but it's still a bad thing, because at the end of the day, he's a fan making fan content like the rest of us. And what separates him from a lot of other creators, isn't necessarily, like in his case, he has a great deal of determination and he's made really great content. And I will not for 1 second diminish that. But a lot of people make really great content. A lot of people make really great content. And what elevates him above them is some intangible thing which is impossible to square with reality almost, because it's like it's truly intangible, but all the same, there it is. Fans are put on plinths. It happened with Tony Coburn, the fucking paedophile cunt. No, he was put on a fucking plinth, you know, and people said, and you will find the common factors are short comments to the effect of, I love you, you're brilliant, you're amazing, you should be the next Doctor for real, this, you should do that, you should do the other. And it's like, stop putting people on pedestals, stop putting groups on pedestals, stop consuming one kind of content, because it's like a capitalist system. It will gradually, like, the smaller things die off and the big thing remains, the monolith, the monopoly. But there is no anti-monopoly law in Doctor Who fan filmmaking. So, you know, there is no anti-monopoly law in fan creation in general. So,
yeah, I mean, the one thing you want, like, I mean, the one thing you would want as a Doctor Who fan, where, regardless of where you work or what you do, unless it's the actual show, because then you're obviously going to be in a certain situation. But like, if you're just a fan, you're just making fan content, and yes, people do like what you do. You should just be like, when I'm at, like, if I'm at a convention and somebody recognizes me for, say, cosplay I do, or just, who they know me, I just go, hey, how you doing? What's going on? I just approach it like I'm seeing, like any normal person, just like I'm seeing somebody, just I don't know, like just I'm seeing a mate down to the pub or something, like, but not, not same fashion, but it's very, I don't like, it's with stars as well. I'm like, I'll be honest, this is mad. I went into Jodie Whittaker dressed as Spider-Man. Like, I was like piggy in the like, I guess, what's it called, piggy in the middle or something, or just like I'm out of every. And I just approached her just like, oh, what's going on? How are you? I'm just gonna, I didn't see in that moment. I didn't really, like, years ago. I would have seen it with Peter Capaldi or anyone. I would have been over excited or whatever. And I just went in like, just someone. It's just like anyone else. Really, it's just normal person trying to get a photo done with everybody. It's like, all right, I'll help you out. Take the photo, done. It's that easy. Like, but I know for some people, it's like, it's very hard to distinguish somebody from that image you've put of them. But it's like, you got to still see them as a normal person, lads, and approach them as, as a normal human being. Because, I mean, yeah, as you said, Dom is a lovely person on both online and as we know him, he is a genuine lovely person. But some people will put him on, like that. Their way of approaching him then somewhere could be vastly different to just approaching him as a as a not any normal person.
George has the same thing.
Yeah.
There are people who put George on a pedestal for appearing in one fan film. Like, he was very good in that fan film, but putting him on a pedestal for just that is a bit like, girls, I know he's pretty. My wife and I both know that he's pretty. We have told him this many times. We know he's pretty. Please, calm down. He's not become your husbando. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry. Like, all joking aside, don't offend anyone like that. Fangirls, by all means, fangirl over him all you want. But again, it's the putting of people on pedestals. It's the whole, this is the best ever. We need more of this. It's fan simping culture, and it's like, but we're all fans.
Yeah.
There is no hierarchy. Like me, I do admit that I got a bit tongue tied when I met Peter Capaldi when he was filming David Copperfield. Like, this was a few years. I got massively tongue tied. I was scared shitless. It was only Sue in front of him that got me to actually get a picture with him. He took the photo for us. That was amazing. Oh. He took 11 selfies with us. 11.
I think with Peter, he knows his audience, because he technically is one of us in this, because that's like David. Like, they're both fans who are just, they've suddenly been put into the role, and they're like, I'm just gonna have fun with this, just gonna ride this train.
They're the ascended fanboys, God bless them. But no, like, so yeah. What was I thinking? No, but it's like, Dom is lovely, George is lovely, but they're fans, and yet people put them on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And like, why are fans putting other fans on pedestals? Why are fans pedestaling other fans and saying that as if they are somehow hierarchically different? It makes no sense to me. And actually, no, that's a lie. It makes perfect sense. People feel the need to be a fan, to be a fanatic enjoyer of something, to enjoy something to the point where they're like, oh, you're incredible. Oh, you're amazing. Oh, I wish I was like you. But in the case of people like, I mean, really, honestly, in the case of all people, but certainly in the case of fans making fan films, it should be a case where we're all equals.
Yeah. We can feel inspired. We can feel inspired by what someone does. I mean, George can say that about you, Jed, for example, or I could say that about George. I feel inspired by what he did and wanting to do my own thing, and that's fine. That is a genuine, just that's out of respect for someone's work, that you like it and want to try your own hand. But then it's just, I don't know, that putting a hierarchy on the whole thing, then just kind of it misconstrues everything then and gets very weird.
This is it. Like, in a weird way, I'm talking about it as though it's never happened to me. But like in a weird way, George was my fan before he was my friend. And our first couple of conversations were really in a lot of ways from the perspective of he is my fan who is a fan of my work. And I'm just getting excited being all like, oh, look at my coats, look at my coats. You're a Doctor Who person. You know what coats and cool and coats. But he was approaching it from the perspective of holy fucking shit, it's the Nth Doctor. And that's a bit weird for me because it's weirder, I think, for me than it would be for him. I think he's at a point where he's like, he recognizes that he has fans. I did not recognize that I had fans. And so having a conversation when I realized, oh wait, I still get that. I'm still like, he was my fan. He's technically still a fan. He's my friend. He's one of my best mates, but he's also a fan. That's weird. I don't process that. I don't process that well at all. I'm incapable of processing that. So I suppose in a weird way, it's probably a good thing that I've never had that many of them, because I don't know how I process it. But like, you know, being on the other side of that is weird. No, I can't fucking imagine what it's like to be in George's position or Dom's position where it's like, I have fans.
I mean,
I'm surrounded by fans. Stop lindering at me. It's terrifying.
I mean, the level of thinking, like, obviously on, you know, I don't know if you've seen Jed, but on the Discord, like, you can see that kind of, no, with all respect to the Discord, if anybody's listening, you know, just give you guys the, but you know, that's sort of what it is. You know, you can, like, there is sort of a fan thing there where, you know, people would make stuff about, you know, make edits, like, you know, TikTok type edits of like George or Dom or whoever, and that's normal. I did one just for the laugh because, you know, George is my mate, and I thought it'd be just funny to big him up by making an edit of him. But that's, you know, that's a different story. But it's like, you can see that in that sense, you know.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. It's although, yeah, I'm gonna be honest. The first thing I'm sort of thinking is I'm gonna turn around to George and go, I never got a TikTok edit. Yeah, hey George, if you're listening, why did I never get a TikTok edit, George? You're supposed to be my number one fan, George. Where the hell is my TikTok edit, George? Where's my racy fan fiction, George? Where's the reader X Nth Doctor fic, George? Where's the porn without plot fic, George? You're the only fan I have, George. You've got to do the work of a whole fandom. Get to it. With crap.
Oh,
That way, I'm not going to start acting like George's Dom. His partner would kill me.
oh, good.
George.
I'm gonna show him this later. I'm gonna show him this parts of this recording later, and he's just gonna be like, "What?"
You don't put that specific part of the recording on YouTube on unlisted and just show it to everybody. I'm gonna be like, oh my one, Shinderu.
Oh jeez, don't bring out the Kenshiro. Don't bring out Kenshiro. Don't. See, yeah, I'm that guy who just like found the Goku before Goku, and just like I was like, oh, I like him more. I like Kenshiro more than Goku. But
not gonna lie, my only experience of him is the meme Omae wa Shinderu.
oh yeah,
and Kenshiro versus Cell from TFS.
yeah. Honest to God, I love that. I've seen that video. It's just like just pops half of his body, and then he's just like, Jesus Christ.
You, Bugman, homeless man. The meat on you, is that bug meat or man meat? Okay. How did you know I was deathly allergic to tickles? You're already dead. Boom!
And he's just there, and he just passed back up like, what the heck? Jesus Christ! Oh man, I know, I love that kind of humor where it's just like they're just playing themselves, but it's just in such a humorous manner.
Oh no, absolutely, absolutely.
But I was gonna say as well, like you've done a lot of composing like over the years. Like I mean, there's stuff. I mean, there's stuff you're doing now for not just me, but for a lot of like good amount of people, and a certain project we can't talk about.
Oh yes, the big secret project that we're not allowed to talk about because we're big secret up our own arse fan filmmakers. No. Okay, so for complete clarity's sake, we're not allowed to talk about that one, dear listeners, because that one is in a massive state of flux right now. That one's in a state of like, we've asked a bunch of people, do you want to be in it? Do you want to not be in it? You know, and it's a case of, is it happening the way it's happening? Is it happening this way? Is it happening that way? You know, all I know for certain is that we're going to have all three Georges in it because fuck it, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm honest to God, I'm just like, I can't wait for either you or George to write that part where it's just all three of them just there.
All of the Georges, maximum George protection. Yeah.
Imagine when all of them, it's like, the Power Rangers, when all of them combine together. That's what George, like, imagine all three Georges just combine into one.
What would a George Doctor fusion be like?
Oh my God, we've just come through. Oh my God.
That's terrifying. I'm terrified now. What have we wrought upon this innocent earth?
I don't know, but I can tell George's brain is starting to work. It's starting to get the cogs turning.
Somewhere, all right, somewhere out there, George's ears are burning. George is burning right now because we're talking about him doing the fucking fusion dance to create George, except that he's in a really silly vest on top of his doctor outfits.
Oh
Yeah, that'll be
God,
fun.
yes.
But yeah, so on the topic of composing, I have composed 600 odd videos on my YouTube channel, the vast majority of which is original music. I'm gonna invite every single person listening to this right now to consider the magnitude of 600 pieces of music. Now, I'm not saying all of those have been fan film pieces, God no. It was like 40 pieces of music for a video game that I'm making, 12 for another one, 40 odd Doctor Who themes, bunch of random experimental crap, a metric ton, it must be said, a metric fucking ton of original music for various fan films that I've done over the years. It's only in the last 4 or 5 months that I've started doing work for other people. So I started doing work for George's series, pretty much as soon as he and I got talking about collaborating. And I'll tell you the story of how George and I got talking actually after I've stopped talking about my music, because that's an interesting one. So I did a bunch of tracks for him. Before that, the only work for fan films that I've ever done, other than my own, was I did 50 plus tracks, 40 plus completed tracks for a fan film project where the person running it did not use my music, did not tell me that they were not going to use my music, and I only found out when the thing was released. I'm not saying which one, because that would be rude, but I was majorly miffed, and I did not do any work for other people for a good long while after that, or offer to, I might add, because it soured me on the whole thing somewhat. So yeah, no, after George though, like, I did some composing work for Rassilon P, but only because Rassilon P, basically, I did some scenes. I wrote and edited some scenes of my Doctor for Rassilon P, and I composed the music to them as well because I just do quite like that. And then he was like, "Can you compose music for some masters?" So I composed some music for some masters, some of which has been used. So one of the latest Endgame of the Doctor pieces that he put out had some of my takes on master themes in them. So I did a take on the Dewan master theme, which I was actually really proud of. But yeah, so after that, I did obviously the music for. I did almost all of the music for the We Surpass New Faces, which was the one with the three Georges. Except for there's this one piece of stock music that's always used for Dom's character, the architect. And I was half and half about, do I use the stock music, even though I don't generally like using stock music? Do I compose a new piece of music? But then Rassilon P was like, no, use the stock music. And I was like, he wants me to use the stock music. It's his project. I'll use the stock music. Dom, if you're listening, I will more than happily compose you any bit of architect music you want, because it's got wibbly fucking synths in it. Boy, wibbly fucking synths is my jam. And then obviously I'm doing music for your series, so I've composed themes for your Doctor, 2 themes actually for your Doctor. So there was the main one, and then you asked for one that was a bit more Elfman. So that you've now basically got 2 different Doctor themes for different purposes. I did one for our mutual friend Eamon. So for his Doctor, who is in your continuity as the Burgundy Doctor. He's one of the Burgundy Doctor's predecessors, is he not?
He is, yeah. He is basically how I like to describe it, and me and Eamon have made it very clear. It's very much in the same vein. Now, if anyone who's watching knows of the, I guess if I was way, it's Eamon would be in this case the Nathan Carter or like of this timeline. He would be down very much there. I would very much be up around the maybe Daniel J. Patton, Connor Chadwick, Irish Doctor, Cravat Doctor era. I would be, that's where my Doctor would exist. So there's a very big gap between us, but we do indeed exist in the same timeline of Doctors.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, I've as I say, I've done a theme for his Doctor, which I'm quite proud of. I've done a lot of experimental themes as well. So some of the ones that I'm proud of that I've done that I sort of did less because I'm doing them for any specific project, more because I liked the idea of doing them. Did one for Daniel J. Patton's Doctor, the Irish Doctor. I did one for him.
That was very.
I don't know if he'd ever use it. He's more than well. Like I've said to him, if he ever wants like music and stuff, I'll happily do it. But so I've done one for him. Did one for his partner Anya, who's got her own Doctor. So she asked me to do one for her Doctor. It was a lot of fun, actually. I was aiming a bit Zimmer with that one, so that was fun. I did a theme for the Blonde Doctor because the Blonde Doctor was in We Surpass New Faces. I've recreated Dominic Martin's Purple Doctor theme. Not for any particular thing. I just did that because I really enjoyed that. And that was a really fun one to do. I think I played you that. You've heard that.
When I heard it, I was just, because I knew, Dom has his original theme out on the internet, so you can literally just go and listen to it. But when I listened to your one, I was just like, there's a lot, it is. It feels like there's, Dom's one already has a big kick to it. This one felt like it was giving it, it was like just giving it a little more of a shove. And it was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one thing that Dom and I agree on from a music perspective is fucking synths everywhere.
Yeah.
So I looked at that theme and I was like, I want more synth, and I want it to feel like Tron Legacy, like just fucking power. Because especially for like Doctor themes, you want it to be the sort of thing where it's like fucking power. You want a moment where the audience listening to it, if it's ever used in an actual piece, will listen to that and they'll be like, fuck me, shit's going down now.
Yeah. So, I mean, when it gets to the bit where, it's like, if anyone hears the team, you'll know this one's like, it goes from and it starts building up, and when it starts getting to that high one, and you're just like, yes, go on, Doctor.
Yeah, no, that bit. So I know for a fact that the composition is not wholly his. It's based on covers from other video game soundtracks and stuff.
Yeah.
But picked very well. The two go together very nicely, and the actual chord progression works beautifully well. Like the 2 chord progression for that main bridge is just fucking stunning. Fucking stunning. Like the most stunning thing ever. And oh god, I would love, like no fucking word of a lie, I would love to compose for his Doctor properly, because you can get a lot of 80s vibes from that dude. You get a lot of 80s vibes.
I mean,
It's like
a lot of people have said Dom is very much like he is a lot like McCoy. There's a lot of McCoy to see from his Doctor in some areas, you know.
I feel like I mean, I guess we'll find out really, but
Yeah.
you know
I
what
mean,
we've seen.
from design alone, my opinion is if you place Dom's Doctor in the 80s, that outfit he fits like a glove.
Funnily enough, there was a guy who did. So there were a couple of fan films by Crow's Eye Productions, and you'll have to give me a few minutes to charge my phone up enough to take a screenshot of what that guy looked like. But one of the things that the guy who posted those fan films on Gallifrey Base said was, when they were making that, they were thinking, what would Doctor Who have been like if it continued into the early 90s? What would the Doctor have looked like? And the guy is dressed like, it's coincidental because I'm fairly certain these films were taken off the internet years ago.
Oh,
But
wait, was this the guy who wore the glasses and stuff, or?
there's big fucking like.
Oh my
spiked.
god! Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm almost tempted. One of the variants of the Purple Doctor's look should just be like a checkered purple suit to just ape that guy a little, just to be like, that's a reference. That's a good reference. Dom, if you're listening to this, again, do that. Just do that. I'll send you a picture. Just fucking do that. Fucking do it, bruh. No, don't fucking do it, bro.
It would be like a sort of a small tribute to that Doctor. It's just like a purple checkered coat.
Why not? Why not?
Uh,
But funnily enough, talking about Doctor costumes, I suppose we could talk about mine a bit. If anyone out there is interested in my Doctor's costume, which George is. So yeah, George, you're still my fan, George. You have to listen to all this stuff because I'm talking about it, George.
he's gonna be wearing one of them at one point.
Oh god, are you kidding me? George did a cosplay of my Doctor. I shit you not. I mean, to be fair, this was after I sent him one of the actual screen-worn ties as a present. So that was fun. God, it's weird because it's not changed drastically. Like, the general gist of it is long coat, waistcoat, corduroy trousers, shirt. I sort of, around about the time McGann did Night of the Doctor, I swapped to using cravats and neckerchiefs instead of ties. And I have a metric ton of these beautiful long tweedy coats that I use instead of trench coats now, primarily. Like, I still wear trench coats, but primarily now it's more the tweedy coats, including all. I don't know if you'll be able to use a picture of it in the podcast. To be fair, I've got my blue tweed two-piece that Steve Ricks made for me, which is to die for. Amazing Taylor, absolutely amazing Taylor. I'm getting another two-piece from him relatively soon, actually, at time of recording. So I'm really looking forward to that.
And I know what it is. I'm gonna say this for the audience: when you see Jed in this, he is going to look badass. Like, honest to God, I'm not kidding. He will look badass in this outfit when it's there. Oh.
I'm a very excitable Jed. I am a ridiculously excitable Jed about this outfit because it's freaking awesome. So, yeah.
I mean, like that's like, for me now. I like it that my outfit is just a jacket and like either a shirt, a t-shirt, or a turtleneck or something. Because I look at all you guys, I'm like, and I'm just in admiration because I'm like, so many variants, beautiful.
This is it though, is that sometimes dragging the Doctor back to stark and simplistic is a good thing. Like, but the thing is, like, for real, a conversation that I want to have with Dom one day, God be willing on this one, would be about just doctor costumes in general and just like fan doctor costumes. Because there's a lot that you can genuinely look at that and go, yeah, that's a conversation topic to have about fan doctors and fan doctor costumes and the way that those change and evolve and stuff. So I mean,
Jed, I'll give you an example. Like the main jacket that I'm going to be wearing as the Doctor now for, I think, the first 3 episodes, and maybe around the end of the series it'll come back. That jacket is. It used to be my going out jacket. It used to be like going out when I was a younger boy. I used to go out to the old clubs. When I was at the start of my college years, and me being a Doctor Who fan, I know. Oh, I really like this jacket. I really like how I am with the nice burgundy shirt. And I just went, I've just thrown my Doctor outfit, haven't I? I said, this is my look, isn't it? And now it's literally just, it's worn. It's literally, you can tell it's so worn out for me just putting it on for photos and stuff. It's just sitting there now because like I don't even fit it properly anymore. I'm a size shorter. So it's just like a big jacket on me now.
I mean, that's it. Like, these things can come from like amazing, diverse places. Doctor costumes can come from. It is truly a wondrous side of the fandom, especially when you're making your own fan stuff. So the shirt is the burgundy part of your Doctor's outfit.
Not just the shirt. I've got these burgundy kind of shoes as well. They're kind of like runners / shoes. Like I don't really kind of define them as anything because if you saw them, Jed, and I'll show you. I'll send you a photo at some point. It's really hard to define them because the fabric on it is strange. I literally had a guy in college one time asking me if he can. He said 2 things. He said, "Can I buy your shoes off you right then and there?" And I said, "No." And then he goes, "Okay, can I rob your shoes because they look nice."
Funnily enough, this is one of the ways that you can tell that my doctors of an older generation than all you young'uns. I'm the nth Doctor, just the nth Doctor. It's a mathematical term.
Yeah.
Okay. You guys all have color nicknames or other nicknames or nicknames based on your bloody accents and shit, or all that stuff. Like I remember back in the day when you were just the Doctor. Back in my day, lad, you were just Doctor. And if you had to differentiate, you'd use mathematical terms or you'd use your names, lad. All right, none of this color scheme bollocks. It's all color scheme bollocks, isn't it, mate? No. It's a generational thing. I think that right there is probably the cultural impact of a certain little red Doctor who has sort of impacted a lot of people, for better or worse.
I mean,
I think.
I'll say this: both my predecessor and my successor, their names, which it's not based generally on a color, but it's both based on partially the predecessor is about the universe, the name of my actual universe, and the war he is fighting, and then the successor is just about an item of clothing she's wearing. Dungarees, yeah. So you guys will see some of that in the future, and trust me, it's going to be fun because it's not me.
Shall I say the one thing that fucking hacks me off, and I say this with all the best will in the world to the guys who do it. If you fucking call yourself the Ginger Doctor, I will smack you.
I think one person has done it.
There's a few. Like if you make a fan film and you call yourself the Ginger Doctor, all right, I will fucking smack you because it's like you're not the Ginger Doctor, bitch. I've been doing it for longer than all of you, bitch. Do you fucking see this hair? Do you fucking see how much of a fucking flame top I am? Do you see the ginger of my beard? Obviously, you, dear listeners, cannot see the ginger of my beard, but my beard is fucking ginger. I am fucking ginger. I have been fucking ginger since I was 1. Since I was 0. I came out, little fucking flame-haired little fucker. So don't you fucking start saying you're the ginger doctor. Pick something else. I don't care if you wear canary yellow Converse.
I'm thinking now of you like Hades out of Hercules. Now you just came out and just like burning fire.
Like I've softened a bit on the whole nicknaming your doctors thing, because God knows everyone's got to have a gimmick these days. Thank you, Falcon, for that comment. But it's like
it sort of helps distinguish in a way, because when you're at a convention and like someone is, you're talking to a fan and you're talking about a certain fan and you have to mention a certain doctor, they're kind of just like, if you just say the doctor in that, they're like, which one you kind of, the name sort of helps to distinguish, and that pretty much should all it should be. I mean, yeah, the personality is sort of in part of it, but in a sense, it's just to say, look, this is the doctor I'm talking about. This is the sort of the stick. I call it, what do you call it? What's that nice way of describing it? Designation.
It's the shorthand, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is it. Like it's weird because the only reason me and Anthony ever came up with Nth and X was to differentiate ourselves within the series, like numerically without using numbers. But in a way, those have become as much nicknames as anything else, and it's an odd one. It's an odd one. I'm still gonna smack anyone who calls himself the Ginger Doctor though, because it's like, I'm older. If anyone lays claim to that fucking title, it'll be me. I'm the one who's gonna stick to that title, you little shite.
I'm sending links to like YouTube videos of people just do like, oh, it's the Ginger Doctor Chronicles, and I'll just send it to Jed. Jed will just you can just see the fire. The fire is right.
You can't see it, dear listeners, but my face is currently displaying a death glare. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
You know a fan film I'd really love to make?
Wow.
I'd love to make a Luke Skywalker fan film.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've got a story in my head, which is basically Luke Skywalker lands on a planet looking for an artifact that the Empire have stowed away somewhere. A couple of stormtroopers come up to him, and he's like, "Oh, hi, can you help me find this thing that I'm looking for?" And they're all like, "Dude, you're fucking Luke Skywalker. We're stormtroopers. We're gonna shoot you now." And he's like, "Oh, please don't do that." They shoot him. He holds up his hand, stops the blaster bolts, sends them flying harmlessly off. Look, can we have a conversation about this? Because this is not gonna go the way that you seem to think it's gonna go. No, blang, blang, no, stopping that. And then eventually he just goes, "I could have ended this 5 minutes ago. Can we please stop doing this now?" So like, no fighting, no thing, just Luke Skywalker basically talking down two stormtroopers from wanting to shoot at him.
Honestly, I would love to see that, because for me, that's like, look, I'm not that much of a like people. People will look at me and go, "What, you watch Star Wars?" I go, "Yeah, but I'm not that much of it." Like, trust me, I do not know a lot of the extended lore. I know parts. I do not know this shit that most people do, because it's like, trust me, I've already learned a lot of Doctor Who lore, and my brain is already dying over that. But I can say safely, from what I've seen, just of even the Book of Boba Fett, it's literally a DLC from the game from, I think it's Battlefront, is it, or is it some? I think it's Battlefront. I kind of get that Luke Skywalker, in a sense, is just he's a Jedi, but he's a Jedi who just wants to help out. Just gonna, and like honestly, the one line I love from that DLC is the stormtrooper fella is asking, "Why did you help me?" And he's just like, "Because you asked." That's it. That's all you need.
This is it. Like the thing is, I've said to myself, I don't want to do Doctor Who stuff forever. I
Hmm.
want to do some Star Trek stuff
Oh,
because I love Star Trek, and I want to do some Star Trek stuff. And it's been really fun, actually. One of the things that's great about that group chat is every so often I just get to throw a random bit of Star Trek trivia into that group chat and be like, "Hey, Dom, Star Trek stuff." And Dom is the only person there who openly responds to it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Star Trek stuff." Which I feel is, I don't want to leave other people out, but I'm also fairly certain that
I mean, that's me.
Connor's
That's me.
think
With
Connor,
that's. Oh, sorry. No,
sorry.
yeah, I was just gonna say that's just me. That's me and George and pretty much Michael as an extension when it comes to like Marvel or DC stuff. Like if I mentioned to Dan about something about Batman this morning, and we were both like, one day, man, one day we'll get around to it because Dan made a fan film years ago, and I was just saying to him, dude, I've got my bat suit. If you ever need a Batman, there it is, and it looks like the movie. So, and then, obviously then George and Michael are very big Spider-Man fans. So I'm just there like, boys, there is an opportunity here. We work together on this. Something could happen.
All I'm going to say is, if you make a Batman fan film, I'll be the Joker. I'll do it.
Oh yeah.
I'll
Oh,
do it.
I want that to happen.
Yeah.
You're just holding it in,
always wanted-
just holding it in, letting it out in spurts. I'm gonna say that to Dan. I'll be like, Dan, Jed is the Joker.
I have a purple suit.
Oh, he's gonna love that. He's gonna love
I
that.
have a purple checkered suit, ironically. So,
Oh,
I'm just like the rebel and I were made for one another. Yeah, I can't quite do the Hamill voice.
yeah. It's like me with the Conroy voice. It's kind of just like, I am vengeance. I am the knight. I am Batman.
But then again, I feel like you'd be able to do, since you can do the accent quite well. I feel like you'd be able to do like a quieter Batman quite nicely.
Yeah, I can do like you saw. Did you see my TikTok I did with the Robert Pattinson impression? I put it up recently. Yeah, I did, but I feel like I can really do like because I've done Michael Keaton's one and I do Robert Pattinson's one, so I kind of like what's the one like I mean I can do the thing where you know how Keaton goes from just talking normally to switching to his Batman voice. So I can just go from talking like this to then just going, I'm Batman. Just yeah, you just switch into that kind of set. Yeah, and that's me. I just think I suit like I just saying I suit the quieter tone better because I don't want to talk like Peter.
I'm Batman.
Where are you going?
I'm not gonna lie. What I love about have you ever seen Dread?
Oh wait, is that the one? I'm trying to think. Dread. Is that the? Are you talking about the Stallone one? Or are you talking about?
I'm talking about Carl Urban.
Oh, that one was. Oh, honest to God, that's cool, man.
Mama's not the law. I am the law.
Oh.
As opposed to Stallone with his I am the law.
It was just like I'll be honest. The introduction was great. Then all of a sudden, a microphone just comes out of his mask, and I'm just like,
I am the law. Dude, no. And then he took his helmet off, and I'm like, no.
That's sort of becoming the trend now with like characters whose helmet isn't supposed to come off. It comes.
Oh, no, I heard about fucking the
Halo
Halo
one. I'm not even a Halo fan, and even I know he's not supposed to do that, or at least not, most in case.
You cannot see it, dear listeners. There is a look on my face right now. No. Oh no, you are not. No, I can't fucking do it. one of these days I've got to get a job in a fucking like fan audio of Star Wars as Palpatine. Yes, good, Anakin. Good.
Good, let the hate flow through you.
Kill him. Do it now. Do it.
Oh man, I'm gonna say it's like, what's his name? Please, Ian.
Ian Garment, I think.
Oh, I love. Honest God, I love how. I love to cast him in a film where he gets just to be devilish like that. That kind of diva. He loves it. He plays that.
You ever seen him do the Shakespeare?
No, never.
So he did Shakespeare Star Wars. He read a monologue from Star Wars Shakespeare that the Emperor does. I'm going to find it for you, and I'm going to send it to you. Because you need to see it. It is fucking legendary.
Okay, I will listen to it once you send it to me. I'm now turned into pain. Oh dear Lord, help me.
Oh no, you're turned into Bane. But you only adapted the Bane impression. I was born with it, molded by it. I didn't speak in a normal person's voice until I was already a man. By then it was nothing but
Yeah, like going on to say collaboration. Like, I mean, the big one that you've had recently is definitely George, I'd say. Like,
absolutely, and that's a long-standing thing at this point. But I think partly it's what's the best way of putting it? It's one of those things where it started out as I saw he did DW 2012, and I was like, George Guidra, where do I know that name from? And obviously, while he was doing it, he was doing the thing of holding his Sonic up to his ear, which I was like, yeah. So that's the thing that I did, because obviously I used the classic Sonic.
yeah.
But I was looking at that and I was like, is he doing that? That's not a reference, is it? And then I remembered, is that the same George Guidra who used to like comment on Lungbarrow? And so I found him, I think I found him on TikTok and I found him on Twitter, followed him on both. And I sent him a message, I think, on Twitter to the effect of, hey, well done. That was really good. And he was like, yeah, cool, cheers. And then I was like, did you do the ear thing as a reference? And he was like, yeah, totally a reference. And I was like, eventually I was just like, do you want to do a collaboration? And he was like, yes. So yeah, I think it was originally it was before Waistcoat was a separate character again. I think originally that was going to be the Blonde Doctor, but then he decided to make his own Doctor and brought me onto that instead. And yeah, no, it sort of started with one audio play, which we wrote together. And then he was like, "You want to do other stuff too?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do other stuff too." And I ended up inadvertently becoming a fuck off huge part of his series. Not that was my initial intention. You realise I was a bit like, "Oh, this is now happening," and George actually knows what he's doing, and George is actually a nice guy, and I actually enjoy working with George. And oh my fucking god, did we just become best friends? It was yeah, that was great. It was odd.
Yeah.
Great. And you know, it's genuinely been one of, if not the best partnership from a creative perspective that I've ever had. I think I can count on one hand, or I could count up to that point on one hand, the number of successful working collaborations that I've had on creative stuff. Because I think, let's be clear here, everybody's ever collaborated on something has had a moment where the person they're collaborating with turns out to be a cunt.
Yeah.
So that's happened to me. It's happened to all of us at one point or another. You know,
We're all desensitized to it. Like, you know, we've seen the heart.
It didn't have to be. I mean, this is the reason why I'm writing a novel and why my novel's coming out. It used to be. This is the part where a bunch of people out there who are literary snobs start booing and hissing. My novel used to be a fanfic, but then I decided I basically wrote a bunch of stuff that was original novel backstory anyway. I might as well just do that instead. So I took my work out of the collaboration. The people that I used to work with, I didn't particularly enjoy working with because they were cunts. So I'd left a while back. They'd been cunts to me even more. And then yeah, they were even cuntier. They were even cuntier about it, and they continued to be cuntier about it. And one of them apparently is spying on me, believe it or not.
Jesus.
Oh no! So he made an offhand comment. He made an offhand comment to a mutual acquaintance of ours, friend of mine, acquaintance of his, that oh yeah, Jed's novel is coming out, and then started making some oblique references to me being a bit like Ken Penders, which yeah, I'm not like Ken Penders, by the way, because I can actually fucking write.
I mean, you've got the masters for it. So.
Oh yes, yes, I have the degree. God knows I paid enough for that fucking degree, or rather, my mother did, for which I'm eternally thankful.
I'm gonna be at the end of my I'm gonna be at the end of my year of college, like where literally it was 2 years in one college and now it's 4 years in this, and I'm gonna be walking out with an honors degree and I'm gonna be like, never again.
You're gonna walk out with that honors degree and you'll be like, it's been 84 years.
And I just look at the necklace and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking let go. I'm letting go.
Bye. Oh boy.
I will remain with the fact there was enough room on that door. There was enough room on that fucking door for the two of them.
I will remain on the fact that that movie is a fucking travesty and that James Cameron's a fucking hack. I hate that movie. I hate that Titanic movie with a burning passion of a thousand suns. Like, I'm sorry. Who the fuck looks at the real human tragedy of 1,500 people losing their lives, the real human beauty in the stories of the captain, of the band, of the real people on that ship, and goes, let's throw a fucking tween romance in there with Leonardo DiCaprio? Answer: James fucking Cameron, because he's a fucking hack.
And
Yeah, and I'm saying it. He's a hack.
I actually found this out as well. It's a unique fact, but also a very fucking scary one. And I never want, like, touch wood. Thank God I have a wooden desk. I never want to be in this situation. What was described to, well, I saw this video describing how it would be on the Titanic that night when it happened. When all the, you know how in the movie it looks like basically it's on studio backlot, whatever, a studio or just in a studio itself. No, it would have been literally pitch black. You wouldn't have not been able to see anything. There might have been some lights from the ship, but bear in mind you couldn't see anything. It was just darkness, complete darkness. That is terrifying for me. That is literal horror, like, to think about. So yeah, I'm just like, James Cameron, you did not get it right, because it would have been dark.
There were some bits he got right. He did the classism very well.
Oh yeah.
And that was awful. And frankly, as gruesome as it sounds, the bodies in the water were quite accurate, and the way they looked. Excuse me. And
I mean, it's for me. It's like it's a great tragedy because it's so close to home. Like all right, a bit of trivia for the listeners as well. The town that it leaves from, most people call it Queenstown. It's called Cove in Ireland now because we've reclaimed ourselves. It was an English name, but now we've just reverted back to the Irish name. And basically, that technically is the port of call for the Titanic by technicality, in a certain sense. And yeah, a lot of the people, working class who perished, Irish. So yeah, it's even creepy is in that town they actually still have. Now it's withered away, but they have near enough the remains of the original port that people left on to get on a boat to go over to the Titanic. Like a smaller boat would take them to the ship itself. And every time I look at it, I think that is creepy. It's like,
they went to get better lives, and they met a nasty fate instead. Fucking dark.
Yeah, because I mean, I can tell you this much: like Irish immigration was huge. Like even like I can nearly 1920s, 1970s and 80s was, and even 1880s was a big time for immigration. Like it's why there's a lot of Irish in America or in England. Like it's we're just we're scattered. We're around. We're just all over the world. You know. But that's
It's the weird thing about there's the weird thing, I suppose, from a geographical perspective about Ireland, and really any country in these isles that isn't England. Really, England's weird. England's kind of verdant as far as you know. Whereas Scotland's quite rocky and harsh in places, Wales is quite rocky and harsh in places, Ireland, I presume, is quite rocky and harsh in places. You know, it's weird. England is this sort of the nice bit of the Isles.
yeah. It's
Not
sort of
where I am. I should point out, not where I am. I'm in the shit part. I'm in the north. I'm a Yorkshireman, me.
hey,
So like,
there's a lot to like.
Yorkshire's a fucking country, and I'll kill any man who dares to tell me otherwise. Yorkshire's God's own country. But no, we're the wet, damp part of the wet, damp isle, so to speak. So that's helpful. No, it's a weird one. It's a weird one.
Yeah.
It's
I mean, from outside. I mean, outside of Dublin, they all of them in Dublin look at, and like say down the south or out the the east. You know, they'd say you guys are the countryside, and I'm like, no, we're not. We're still part of the country. We're not the countryside because we're like we are literal cities, and some of us are bigger than you.
It's the same with England and London. The Londoners are all, London is London. It thinks it's the fucking center of the planet, and then you go up north, and it's like, no, you're fucking not. You little tosser, fuck off. And I say that with all the love and respect for the actual Londoners that I know, because they're not up their own ass about it at all. But London, it's Westminster's fault. Westminster's a shit pile, but you don't have to worry about Westminster, you lucky bastard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we kind of do because it's like we're it's sort of the ripple effect. It's like what McCoy said. It's like the boulder is like Westminster. We get the ripples. We get the kind of the ripples off of what happens. Because it's like we're your neighbors. We kind of just see what's happening from the window.
True.
Yeah.
The good news for you is you can shut the blinds.
Yeah.
Yorkshire doesn't get that luxury. I swear to God, this is a conversation I've been having more and more. I want Yorkshire independence, or at the very least, a devolved Yorkshire Parliament, because that's the only way any money's going to get fucking spent up here.
Yeah.
And that's political bollocks. Apologies for political bollocks on your Doctor Who podcast. Oh, God.
But yeah, I mean, on the George thing, like, I think it's a nice, honestly, from the way I see it, it's nice how George has sort of like gone off and done this other like universe thing, Doctor stuff, and he's just gotten everybody together in this kind of nice fashion. Like he's gotten you, and then when he asked me, I honest to God, right, when George told me I was on the short list of people, and I was near the top. I went, how am I there? Why am I there? It's like there are so many people, George, and you know this, So it makes me appreciate people around me, like to think of me as that kind of thing, like because I would never think of that as of myself, I know I do the burgundy thing or whatever, but it's just like I don't like I would value my predecessor and my successor's incarnations over my own. That's why when I go, I'm just like, yay, just doing audios. I can feck off. But
on that bombshell, however, I'm afraid I may have to pop off because my wife cannot sleep without me in the bed. The joys of being together for 12 years, everybody. She literally cannot sleep if I am not there to hug her.
That is a wholesome thing, Jed.
Yeah, that is the most wholesome thing, and I think that's what I like to think of as relationship goals.
Yes. So if I was to ask you one more thing before we close off, what would be it can be anything, it can just be any kind of thing, but what would be your goal? you had a goal for anything, what would it be?
I have many goals, but as a creative person, I have 4. Let's say 4. 1, successful novel writing career. Because at the end of the day, like fan stuff is fan stuff. It's great, but I want to write novels, and I want those novels to make me enough money that I can just write novels for money. That's what. 2, make a Star Trek fan something. 3, make a Star Wars fan something at some point. And 4, very big and very important 4, I want to make my Doctor's final story. I want my Doctor's final story to be fucking massive. I want it to be a long, epic final story with loads of people involved in it. I want to blow away all the other fan films that have been big. Like I want to blow them the fuck away. I want to have like loads of people in it. I want to have loads of characters. I want to have loads of like super duper awesome scary stuff in it. And I want to fucking kill that character off good and proper, but really well. Like proper well. And the joy of it is, you guys out there could help me with that last one.
And on that note, I'll leave it to them to get in contact with Jed. Jed, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. Hopefully we will have you on again soon. Maybe we'll get George on or something as a trio or whatever.
Get George on, and then you can see how he and I interact. It's mostly, I must admit, it's mostly flirting. I'm not even gonna lie. That's actually a thing.
Yeah.
Joke flirting. We're both taken men.
Exactly, and that but
Oh, and on that bombshell, it's been an absolute pleasure, and I will be back on anytime you want. You'll never be rid of me.
Exactly, and if you guys want to check out Jed's stuff, you can look up. You can see his stuff on the Lungbarrow Brothers, Manic Death Productions. I'm trying to remember.
Put all the links in the description and stuff. I'll incessantly send them to him until he does.
Thank you very much, Jed. And on that note, guys, it's been the SuperCircuit podcast, and we'll see you later.